Glad you could join me. Welcome. Oh, you want to hear another story? I guess Uncle Bruce can share a story with you. Some of you probably are pretty familiar with this one. Grimm's Fairy Tales. Some of you old timers probably know that one. This one's called The Three Spinners. You know what a spinner was, right? I mean, I don't have to explain. Well, let me go ahead and explain that one too. It was a term for spinning when you did a spinning wheel, those old spinning wheels to make yarn out of flax. That's what they were. Well, there once was a girl who was lazy, and she would not spin. Her mother could not persuade her to do it, no matter how hard she tried. Finally, the mother became so angry that she gave her daughter a good beating. While the mother was beating the child, the queen of the realm happened to pass by and heard the girl crying. The queen stopped. She entered the house and asked the mother, "Why are you beating this child?" The woman was ashamed to tell her daughter's laziness, so she said, "I was trying to stop her from spinning. That's all she wants to do. Day and night she keeps on spinning, but I am poor and cannot supply her with enough flax." The queen answered, "I like nothing better than the sound of a spinning wheel, and I always feel happy when I hear it humming. Let me take your daughter with me to the castle. I have plenty of flax, and she shall spin there to her heart's content." The mother was only too glad to get rid of her daughter, so she agreed to let the queen take the girl with her. When they reached the castle, the queen showed her 3 rooms completely filled with the finest flax in the land. "Now you can spin all this flax," she said, "and if you're able to spin it all to my satisfaction, I will make you the wife of my eldest son. You will become the princess. But if you fail, you will be banished from the realm forever." Even though the girl was momentarily excited about the possibility of becoming a princess, she was inwardly terrified because she knew she couldn't spin the flax. Even if she were to live 100 years and were to sit spinning every day of her life from morning to evening, she didn't even know how. For 3 days, she just sat and she cried without spinning a single thread. And on the 3rd day, the queen came by, and when she saw that nothing had been done, she was surprised and asked for an explanation. The girl excused herself by saying that she had not been able to begin because of the distress she felt from leaving home and leaving her mother. The excuse satisfied the queen temporarily, but as she left, she said, "Tomorrow, you must, and you have to start to work." When the girl was alone again, she couldn't figure out what to do at all. In her frustration, she gazed out the window. She saw 3 women who were passing by. One had a broad, flat foot that caused her to walk with a limp. The second had a fat lower lip that hung down under her chin. And the third had a huge thumb that looked ugly and sore. When they saw the girl, they stopped at the window and asked what the girl was doing. The girl told them her plight, and the 3 women said, "We are all spinners, and we will help you on one condition. When you marry the prince, invite us to your wedding, and do not be ashamed of us. Call us your cousins, and let us sit at your table. If you will promise this, we will finish off your flax spinning in a very short time." "Oh, yes, I promise with all my heart," the girl answered. "Only come in now, and please begin at once." The women came in and began spinning the yarn immediately. The first one drew out the thread, pumped the needle that turned the wheel. The second one moistened the thread with her mouth, and the third twisted it with her thumb. Soon heaps of beautiful yarn began falling to the ground. Whenever the queen came by, the girl would hide the 3 spinsters and keep them out of sight. The queen was amazed at the heaps of well-spun yarn, and there was no end to the praise that the girl received. When the first room was emptied, they went on to the second, and then they went on to the third, so that at last all the flax was spun. Then the 3 women left, saying to the girl, "Do not forget your promise, and nothing bad will happen to you." When the girl showed the delighted queen the 3 empty rooms and the heaps of beautiful yarn, the wedding was arranged at once. The prince was quite pleased. that he had to have such a diligent and hard-working wife. I have 3 cousins, said the girl, and they've been very kind to me over the years. May I invite them to the wedding and ask them to sit at the head table with us? The queen and the prince both said, yes, that would be permitted. When the wedding feast began, it came the 3 spinsters and sat down at the head table. The prince was surprised at their appearance. Oh, he said, I didn't realize that you had such dreadfully ugly relatives. He went up to the first spinster, looking down at her broad, flat foot. How does your foot become so large? From pumping the treadle on the spinning wheel, she said. From pumping. He then went to the second spinster and said, how is it that you have such a great hanging lip? From licking the thread, she answered, from licking. Then he asked the third, how is it you have such a huge thumb? From twisting the thread, she replied, from twisting. The prince considered all this for a moment and then announced, from this day forward, my beautiful bride will never again touch a spinning wheel. And together, they lived happily ever after. Now, I'm sure you're thinking to yourself, pretty soon, she's going to be found out. She's going to be in deep trouble, and everybody's going to know that she never did anything to make that yarn. As the story turns out, even though the girl's lazy, she's deceptive, she's unworthy of being made a princess, she gets by with it anyway, and nothing bad happens to her. And she's off the hook forever, and the story ends pretty well. Pretty much, that's the story of the gospel. We're thieves, liars, sin all the time. We're not really done anything, and even Paul said our righteousness is filthy rags to the Lord. There's not anything we can pull off even righteous to the Lord. Yet, he goes to the cross. He loves us anyway. He abounds us with grace. We don't deserve a thing. And yet, we become heirs to the throne. Not because of anything we did. Just like that lying, deceiving girl. She didn't make any of that yarn. And we can't do anything righteous either. Yet God still promises heaven, ever abidance through his Holy Spirit when we surrender to him. Romans says this in Romans chapter 5. You see, just at the right time, when we were still powerless, Christ died for the ungodly. That's you and me. Very rarely will anyone die for a righteous man, though for a good man someone might possibly dare to die. But verse 8 says this, that God demonstrates his own love for this. He demonstrates it. He shows it. Just doesn't say it. He shows it while we were still sinners. Not when we became righteous, not when we did anything right. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. Yeah, we don't deserve it either. We haven't done anything right. And we certainly haven't earned anything that God has given us. We're pretty much like that lying girl. Pardoned forever, never to touch a spinning wheel again. Totally unfair. But I'm so grateful to God for it. You should stop in some other time. There's always other stories. Love y'all.